Hey y'all, it's Sherry G, and this is the disclaimer. So I've been working on this video for a couple of days, just gathering my thoughts, and not only that, it's been extremely busy at my workplace. Plus, we just came back, off a holiday. But when I did the first part of the video, I was actually on my back patio and it was dark. When I looked at my camera, everything looked good as far as lighting. But when I put it into the app that I use to help edit my videos and everything, it came out, it's dark. And I'm not doing it over. So anyway, I'm just putting this disclaimer out here to say, I know that the first part of the video is dark and I apologize for that. Anyway, y'all, let's get on with the video. Hey y'all, it's Sherry G. So look, I'm sitting on my back patio, just enjoying the weather. It's getting a little cooler, and this is one of my favorite places to be, especially when the weather's like this, like it is tonight. So I'm sitting out here, just chilling out before I go in and take a shower, sitting, listening to the water features in my pool, and just chilling with my dog, Chloe. I don't know, you probably can't see her. She's a big old chocolate lab. But anyway, I was sitting here thinking about the Bible story about Lot and his wife. So I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with that story, but in the scripture, there's a story of this dude. His name is Lot, and his wife, she doesn't have a name. She's just known as Lot's wife. So they were given strict instructions by God to leave Sodom and Gomorrah because there was a lot of immorality going on there. So God had other plans for them. He told them to leave, and he said, hey, and I'm just summarizing this story, putting it in my own words, just to make it brief. But he said, hey, I want you to leave. I don't want you to ever go back there again, so don't ever step foot back into that place. As a matter of fact, don't even look back. Don't even look back there. And so, y'all, I've actually taught this story before years ago when I was going to church and ministering in church. And I was always intrigued by the story. There's a couple of things that really stand out to me. There's a lot of symbolism in this story that is oftentimes missed. And I gave my interpretation years ago, but recently I heard a friend of mine, someone that I really admire, telling the same story on a live that she was doing. And I thought, wow, again, she did a great job. So I'm not trying to refute anything that she said, but so much symbolism in this story. So much more to the story than what I've heard anybody ever give or ever relay or interpret. And I just thought, wow, I want to tell this story, and I want to tell the downloads that I received years ago, and then the most recent download I got regarding Miss Lot, or Lot's wife. So hang tight and let me give you some background. Okay, y'all, so many times when this story is told to parishioners, to Bible study groups, and as it was told on the live that I listened to the other day, it's always told with the general message being, don't look back. Don't look back when God has brought you through trials and tribulations. Don't look back when you've left a horrible situation. Don't look back when you've overcome whatever it is. It could be an addiction. It could be a bad relationship. It could be a job loss. Don't look back. Because in the looking back, it's going to hold you back. And there's a couple of things. First of all, going back to the story of Lot's wife, let us not forget that, number one, they were told not to step foot back there, and they were told not to look back. And number two, well, the biggest thing is Lot's wife, she did look back. She looked back and she turned into a pillar of salt. And that's what really stuck out to me. I'm like, she turned into a pillar of salt. The symbolism, there's something there. And so that's what I want to break down in this video. So again, the story of Lot's wife has been used for centuries to warn against looking back, but I believe there's more depth to it, and that's why I wanted to do this video, just to change, hopefully change your perspective, or just to share my insights. So looking back isn't always about being stuck in the past. It can be about understanding the past. When we revisit where we've been, we can purge old pain by acknowledging it instead of burying it. We can heal by naming the wounds and recognizing how they shaped us. And looking back allows us to move forward with clarity because we've taken the lessons with us rather than dragging the baggage. So, Lot's wife, she looked back with longing for what was behind her, and that's what froze her in place. But looking back with the intention to heal and release is something totally different, and I believe it's absolutely necessary if we're going to continue to grow. It's like pruning a plant. You have to go back to the old growth, cut away what's dead, and make space for what's still alive. In other words, y'all, looking back isn't the danger. Getting stuck there is the danger. And like I said, this story's been told over and over and over again, saying, never look back. But it's all about intention. When we look back with intention, we purge what's toxic. We heal from what hurt us, and we carry forward the lessons, not the baggage. So it's not about freezing in the past. It's about facing it so we can step into freedom. So look, y'all, there was a time in my life when things were just crazy. I think it was the craziest time of my life, actually. And that was right before my 50th birthday. So it was around 2010. There was a lot happening in the world in 2010. There was all of these job layoffs. But it was a really crazy time in my home. It was a really crazy time in my marriage. And I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling my marriage. I wasn't feeling my husband. He wasn't feeling me. He wasn't feeling himself. I wasn't feeling myself. There was so much going on. And I just had to get a grip. And so I kid you not, I literally sat on my bathroom mirror, not on the mirror, but on the sink, and looked into the mirror. And I asked myself, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? Because I didn't know. I was hiding under all of this stuff. Sure, I had these roles that I played. The wife, the mother, the sister, the daughter, the corporate trainer. Yeah, I was hiding under the guise of all of those things, and yet I still didn't know who I was. I felt so empty inside. But for me, during that time, I knew I had to go back. I had to go back and I had to assess my life, my past life. Like, how did I get here? Where did it start? The low self-esteem, where did it come from? Being afraid to stand out front, where did that come from? Being afraid to use my voice, where did it come from? Feeling like if there was 20 people in the room, then those 20 people mattered more than I did. What they had to say mattered more than I did. Now, granted, I'm still the quietest one in the room most of the times. I'm not going to say anything unless I have something to say. I'm just not, especially when people just, yeah, I'm going to be quiet. I'm not going to fight for airtime. So, but anyway, there's times when you have to look back. Looking back is necessary to go forward. Looking back is necessary for your growth. So it's all about intentions. It's all about intentions. Lot's wife, when she looked back, her intentions were wrong. And that's why they were told, don't even look back, because they weren't looking forward to the growth. She especially wasn't looking forward to the growth. She wasn't looking forward to the new. She didn't even want to go. She didn't want to go. She was just going because she had to go. She was following her husband. So for her, especially looking back, she looked back with regret. She looked back with sorrow. She really couldn't leave mentally and emotionally what was behind her. But for us, it's really important at times to look back. We got to look back in order to understand our traumas, in order to understand our triggers. We have to look back. Now, let me say this. When I was looking back, I wasn't looking back to see who I could blame. It wasn't about blaming anybody. So when you look back, your journey isn't about anybody else. The lessons aren't about anybody else. It's about you. The lessons are for you. This journey is all about you, your purpose. That's why you're here, because you have a purpose. In order for you to grow and expand and to become and to be more of who you're meant to be, it's important to take your focus off of other people. And that's what I had to do. My husband had to understand himself. That was for him to work through, not for me. I had to work through myself, my stuff, what was happening to me, what I was feeling, so that I can move forward. And I had to understand that now I understand that the things that happened to me actually happened for me. They were for my benefit. They were for me to be able to tell my story and share my story to others who are going through like situations. And I do understand that sometimes looking back is hard. It's hard to look back, and sometimes you just can't because you're not ready. You can't look back because it's too traumatic. You can't look back because the stuff is just too much, and it's going to evoke a lot of emotions. It's going to evoke anger. It's going to evoke sadness. It's going to evoke all the things that you try to push under the rug, yet the stinky stuff is seeping through, and you can smell it in your relationships. You can smell it in the way you treat yourself. You can smell it in the way you perform in your jobs. You can smell it in the way you treat other people. You can smell it in the way you treat and talk to your children. You can smell it in the way you treat and talk to your spouse or significant other. The stench is still there. You're just pushing it under the rug. So as hard as it is, whenever you're ready, if that's you, seek help. Seek help. Therapy's a good thing. Get on the couch with someone. Talk to someone. Get on the phone. Seek therapy. Seek counseling. Whatever it is you have to do to work through your trauma. Now, you don't ever have to step back into a place. I'm talking about, physically step back into a place, especially if you're dealing with alcohol and drugs. You don't want to go back to those places, but you do need to understand your triggers. You need to understand why you lean on the bottle. You need to understand why you resort to the drugs, sex addiction, whatever the addictions are. Why are you depressed? Whatever it is that you're dealing with, But I understand that you can't always do that. You might not be able to do that by yourself or do that now. But my wish for you is that you definitely would look back with the intention of being able to move forward, with the intention of being able to drop that weight and finally be free. There's danger when we dwell in the past with regret, shame, or longing, because that keeps us stuck. The past is a teacher, y'all. The past is a teacher. It's not a home. It's not a place for us to stay. Looking back is only powerful if it leads to moving forward. And that's what it should be. It's not about blaming anybody. It's about understanding who you are. Looking back is so that you can grow. I've said it and I'll say it again, so that you can grow and move forward. And I encourage you, ask yourself, what in my past is asking to be acknowledged and released so that I can move forward lighter? So remember, every glance backward can either chain us or free us. Choose to look back only to gather the wisdom, release the weight, and step into the light of your becoming. Today, take time to reflect with intention. Leave behind what no longer serves you and carry forward only what gives you strength. Now, let's talk about the fact that Miss Lot, she turned into a pillar of salt. So I told you that I was really, really intrigued by the fact that she turned into salt. Like, she could have just died. She could have turned into stone. She could have disintegrated. But I felt strongly that there was some symbolism in the fact that she turned into salt. And so going back to biblical times, we find that salt was the great preserver. It kept food from decay, and spiritually it symbolized purity, and it still does today, symbolizes purity, endurance, and the ability to preserve truth. Now, when I go back to scripture, and y'all, I'm not a religious person at all, but I do love scripture. But when I go back to scripture, Jesus said in Matthew 5:13, you are the salt of the earth, speaking to humanity. And he was actually calling all of those, calling all of us to preserve goodness, truth, and righteousness in a world that's prone to corruption. Thinking further about salt, it adds flavor and vitality, right? So salt brings out flavor. It enhances what is already there. In the same way, a person's life can add flavor to the world by bringing out the beauty, wisdom, and goodness in others. And then salt was also used in biblical times in covenant rituals in the Old Testament. It symbolized permanence and loyalty, something that wouldn't easily dissolve or decay. And so when I think about her turning into a pillar of salt, I think that it could symbolize being frozen in the past. She was preserved, but she was preserved in the wrong way. And that kept her from being able to move forward into a new life. And we don't want that to happen to us. We don't want people to remember our stories for the wrong reason. We want them to remember our stories for the right reasons. And then thinking further about Lot's wife, they were traveling. She turned into a pillar of salt. And in my mind, I just see her walking, and she's on the earth, right? She's walking along the road, and she stops, and she looks back, and she turns into a pillar of salt. So the earth is where seeds are planted. Life takes root, and nourishment begins there. Humanity itself was formed from the dust of the earth. If we go all the way back to Genesis, I believe Genesis 2:7, It symbolizes humanity, grounding, and the raw material for growth. The earth reminds us of seasons, death, burial, renewal, and harvest. It is the place where transformation happens. So to be salt of the earth means not only to preserve goodness, but also to be grounded, rooted, and nurturing, like fertile soil that receives and grows what is planted. So the connection between salt and earth together. Salt preserves, earth produces. Salt alone can't grow life, but it protects what life the earth brings forth. Earth alone can grow, but without salt, which equals, in this case, preservation and truth, that growth can spoil or decay. Together, they speak of balance, preserving what is good while staying grounded and open to new life. So remember, we are both salt and soil. Salt preserves truth, adds flavor, and keeps us from decay. Soil grounds us, nurtures life, and allows seeds to grow. When we honor both, we preserve the wisdom of the past while creating fertile ground for the future. But I didn't stop there. In my thinking of this whole story, I thought about the fact that she turned into salt. I focused on, of course, what came up for me was her intentions for looking back. And not only that, the fact that Miss Lot didn't have a name. She didn't have a name. Lot's wife was never given a name. Now, maybe because she became her choice when I think about this. Looking back instead of moving forward. But you, beloved, are more important than your past. We are more important than our past. Your name, your identity, your story carries forward when you choose growth over longing. So yeah, she wasn't remembered. I mean, in the King James Version and other variations of that, she's always known as Lot's wife. So that stuck out to me too. I'm like, what is this woman's name? And upon research, I found out that there's some Jewish transcripts where they actually name her Edith. She's known as Edith, I believe, or some variation of the name Edith. But anyway, yeah, it really stuck out to me. So we don't want to be remembered for our stories. Our names should carry some weight, right? Back in biblical times, it did carry weight. And names still mean something today. But we don't remember her for her name. We don't even know her name. She wasn't even given a name. We just remember that she turned into a pillar of salt because she looked back. But the key things to remember here is, one, they were told not to look back. And again, if you're not ready, if in your spirit, your inner, your all-knowing self, your higher self is telling you, don't look back, you're not ready, then honor that. Honor that. And hopefully, prayerfully, there will be a time when you are ready to go back and address whatever it is that's happened, whatever it is that caused you the trauma, that's causing you to be depressed, that's keeping you from moving forward, that's keeping you from stepping full out into your purpose, to getting to know yourself, because that's what this journey is about. It's getting to know thyself. So anyway, y'all, that is all I have for you in today's video. Thanks for being here, and until the next time, ciao. Hey, it's me, Sherry G. I just wanted to thank you again for spending this moment with me. If today reminded you that you're still growing, then we're doing something right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that little bell so you never miss a moment of growth, grace, and good soil. Until next time, stay rooted, stay radiant, and remember, you're not done blooming yet.